Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, and welcome back to USC 2024. We're still trucking our way through the round of 16 extended weekend as we go into Tuesday in the UTC time zones, late Monday night in the American time zones, and we continue onward through the winners bracket. It is SoCal versus Minnesota. I'm T1G. Joining me is my good pal, my good buddy, my good friend, Chillier Pair, in what you have to figure is a pretty one-sided matchup on paper, but Minnesota showed last week that they're capable of perhaps causing a bit of a stir in terms of trying to create upsets.
Rematches left on the weekend, T1G. Two happening right now, one happening tomorrow, and the one that we've got right in front of us is going to be, on paper, not a close match, but I think in practice, pretty exciting. This round of 16 pool kicks the difficulty up from the round of 32 by just a little bit. I'd say probably by a little over half a star, which is pretty good scaling for round of 32 to round of 16. Minnesota with one of the few upsets of the round of 32. Actually, if I look back on the round of 32, Minnesota with the only upset of the round of 32. That was a 20th seed.
Nope. There were two, but one of the only two. Georgia over Tennessee. Also an upset in the round of 32.
Oh, that is true. I was like skimming past it because it's like right next to it. Yeah,
24 over 9. That is also an upset. That being said, Minnesota, yes, upset over New Jersey.
Yeah, big stuff from them. So Minnesota, they had a good matchup. They have a pretty strong roster overall. I think a lot of eyes immediately turned to Swick when looking at this Minnesota roster because that's kind of what you do. You look at the number one most visible tournament player on their team and who has had the most success, and you're immediately drawn to them. But if you look at the stats for Minnesota last weekend, it actually was a lot of weight being pulled by Destin and Lillian and Eves and a bunch of the other players on the roster last week alongside Swick that actually made them as scary of a team as they had to beat New Jersey. So if they can have Swick step it up a little bit more in this round of 16 pool where the maps are a little bit more difficult and still have a somewhat good performance from Destin and Lillian, I think they have quite a good chance at pulling some maps away from SoCal this week, especially with the consistency required on these pools.
It's kind of hard to know exactly what to expect out of SoCal. Definitely not a matchup where they really were ever going to be tested last week. Louisiana just not a team that has what it takes to really contest these top teams, such as, the Californias, the Texases, the New Yorks, Virginias of the world. So, their relative strength is a little harder to gauge because I have to figure that they did not put 100% into that match. Of course, it was the first match back for Utami in a very long while, and he had a strange outing. Had the easy flashlight SS on the free mod, but other than that, really didn't have any remarkable scores like we're used to seeing from him. So it's hard for me to predict what really SoCal will be capable of in this matchup. But I think, as time goes on, you got to expect them to really lock in. And once the matchups get more difficult, they know they need to be performing at their peak to be successful.
I agree. I think a lot of teams tend to do that, especially for our really high-seeded rosters in this tournament. We really do often see, especially in the round of 32, you don't really need to take the match super seriously, especially if you're a top 3 seeded team like SoCal is. You are kind of able to chillax a little bit. The fourth seed. You know what?
They're the 4th seed.
T1G, I'm blocking you on life right now. That's
Okay.
it. That's it. No,
Go for it, man. It was nice knowing you.
thanks. Hope you've enjoyed. But SoCal, you don't really need to try, I think, as much in those early rounds when you're playing a team that is a bottom 8 to 6 team. Especially because we talk about it a lot. United States Cup is a very top-heavy tournament. The top 8 teams usually you see a pretty significant drop-off after that top 8, especially with those matchups. So SoCal is no exception to this, despite having a roster that, is kind of missing the prime of one of their most well-known tournament players. They've got a lot of backup from some players that are extremely good as of recent times. One of them we're actually seeing in the top of our lobby right now in Cal. Probably one of the best players in SoCal as of recent for tournaments. He's been extremely consistent, great across the board. But we have yet to see what SoCal is able to do as a roster against a team who can really challenge them in a fairly difficult map pool here in the round of 16. There's a lot of weird gimmick stuff in here, alongside some somewhat more basic mechanics maps in this pool. I think a lot of them are pretty accessible, with the exception of, maybe Fremont 3.
Yeah, most of this map pool has kind of a fair amount to offer, especially for an early round. It doesn't have expanded mod pools yet. You've got some pure tapping maps, you've got a pure aim map or two, but then you do have those gimmick picks. You have, Nomad 2, Nomad 3, Hidden 2, Hard Rock 2. So there are options, kind of whatever you want to opt into. I don't know. I have to look through, I suppose, to see, Minnesota is a team, they played the speedy Nomad 2 last week and set a pretty solid score on it. They played the Flow Hidden 2, set a pretty good score on that. Same for the Hard Rock 1, which was, precision aim. So kind of spread things out across a lot of different skill sets. So, despite being the lower seeded team here, you often see those types of teams struggling in gimmick maps against higher seeded teams. I think in this particular case, Minnesota's showed off that they're decently well rounded, which is going to make bans and picks, a little more challenging.
Well, I'm very interested to see what happens in this match, to say the least. I think that there is a lot of capability on either side here to turn some heads. Again, I found myself quite surprised at what Minnesota was able to produce last week as an overall roster, despite maybe not having the most mainstream roster for tournament players or top-level players. They certainly, put up their own against a, albeit slightly weakened, New Jersey roster, but they did what they needed to do. And SoCal, a bit of a different beast to go through, as we have a little bit of trouble starting this warm-up for some reason.
I think they're switching to a different warm-up map, because this is like some wacky 168 star thing that would probably crash the tourney client. So
if the tournament client crashes on 168 stars in the year 2024, I would be exceedingly surprised.
Bro, the tournament client crashes on everything. Come on.
Okay, but the tournament client is not running the map, you guys have to realize. The tournament client is simply spectating the clients that are running it. So all the map needs is the data that is being displayed to it. So the client is not actually undergoing the same load as what the players are.
Anyway, I believe they're changing the warm-up regardless of the reasoning.
But
hopefully they do that. Hopefully they do that soon, so we can get into this, because warm-ups are already, boring enough to have to sit through. So hopefully we can actually get going with the match.
We got rid of that banger for California Girls.
Yeah, the song slaps. I don't want to hear it. So notably, winner of this match does get Virginia in the next round, which, if you're not at full strength against Virginia, and they are, it's going to be a rough time. Rectagon, who's been the best tournament player in North America for the last couple of years now, awaiting. SoCal really needs Utami to be back at full strength to be able to contest that, considering the relative strength of the backing players for the teams. That's going to be a very interesting matchup, assuming, we get a very strong team out of this regardless. Loser of this match gets Illinois, which, sorry, Illinois, but that's an uphill battle for you regardless.
Yeah, these are two really good teams. Minnesota, super underseeded in terms of, having to sit there at the 20th seed just because of their overall rank distribution here. But they have a lot of very consistent, very good tournament players that are going to be able to bring them through, I think, even the quarterfinals, even though the pool does get a little bit more difficult They should be able to hold their own. And again, setting ourselves up for some ridiculous winners bracket matches after this. I mean, regardless, the winner of this facing off against Virginia. And I talked earlier about the lower half of the winners bracket, Texas versus New York and Florida versus Maryland. That's going to be quarterfinals, folks. Like, come on. Those are like almost finals level matchups.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying a few minutes ago, how in general this tournament is pretty top heavy, and there's 8 or so very, very strong teams. Obviously, we saw Georgia pulling the upset as a 24 seed over Carolina, the 8th seed. Carolina is you could make the argument Carolina a little overseeded. But that sets up an interesting matchup. North California versus Georgia next week. Winner of this match versus Virginia. The other one, besides Texas, New York, of course, Florida, Maryland, that was just solidified with Maryland's win a little bit ago. I mean, all 4 of these quarterfinals are just like absolute bangers. It is going to be cinema next week with what looks like a pretty cool and engaging map pool as well. So I am... you don't want to look ahead too much when there's still several matches left in the current week, but I'm looking ahead at least a little bit.
You gotta, get excited about the weekend ahead right early, especially given the fact that it is Monday. So, the fact that these matches are going to the week is kind of cutting into that excitement time that you're kind of waiting for here. So we're just dragging it on to make the time in between United States Cup shorter, which is honestly kind of sweet. You get more United States Cup spread out over more time, so you just have endless USC, which... maybe a little bit more fun to watch than everyone sitting here streaming and commentating it. I have a pretty good time, but see how it goes. It's fun. We like watching matches here. This is going to be a good one. Again, we've got another good match happening on the B stream right now as well. Alongside this, not to forget about it, we got Connecticut versus Colorado taking place down there. I imagine they should be already finished with their warm-ups, going through picks and bans, considering how long this has taken. And we've got one more match for the weekend after this, too. We got NorCal versus Michigan tomorrow night, too.
Yeah, this weekend is dragging on a fair bit for sure. And yeah, Connecticut, Colorado getting into their first pick. They're headed into Hidden 2 right now, so they're underway in that one. As you said, this one taking a little bit longer than we may have liked to get going, but it'll happen eventually, no worries. That's an interesting matchup. Obviously, Connecticut, bottom seed of this entire tournament. They are the number 32 seed against Colorado, the 17 seed, who lost to Michigan last week. It's a different look, Colorado, ever since the departure of I'm a Fancy Lad, who was America's best player for a couple years there. Without him, that Colorado team loses a lot of what made it capable of getting, through at least a couple early rounds. But do have Crestive, do have Venpris. Meanwhile, Connecticut, also a team that's just lost their best players, with the departure of Leftovers a couple years ago. Kind of just been barely staying afloat at the bottom seed positions for the last couple of years since then.
I mean, once again, New England United States Cup really taking some massive hits as of recent. I mean, basically every state up there losing some pretty major players over the past couple of years across the board. Massachusetts, another state that kind of took that pretty hard, especially with departures of, tied by a couple of years ago, and, players like TJ as well, no longer being as active in the game. I mean, those were some major figures there that are, no longer available. In Connecticut, actually the last stand for New England in United States Cup this year, by the way. They are the only team remaining left. Rhode Island had a team last year, didn't have one this year. New Hampshire, unfortunately, eliminated after this weekend as well. So that's kind of the rest of that there. Connecticut, they've got some big shoes to fill.
And meanwhile, New York has just picked up every faker that you could possibly imagine. I mean, they already had Taquito, and then they get Freddie Benson. They have Pez just ascending into godhood. They have Twilight playing really, really well. Like, all of these other states around New York have kind of fallen off, losing players, and New York just gets more players. They had 40-something signups this year. They had 45 signups by the time it was all said and done. Not all of those obviously super serious, but they had 45 players register. New Jersey with 42. So There's a couple teams left that have some players in that general region of the country, but the others are, as you said, definitely struggling. At long last, we have made our way through the warm-ups, and man, this is why I hate warm-ups. We're 15 minutes in, and we haven't even done bans yet. Anyway, it is going to be, it looks like Minnesota winning the role. They will choose pick or ban order, and hopefully we'll get underway with this one here.
Yeah, I got to rock it, and we ended up basically taking the length of 3 warm-ups because the amount of deliberation and discussion that happened after the first warm-up was basically the length of an entire one. But we've got a very telling pick and ban phase here, I think, you know, to see what Minnesota is potentially scared of on SoCal here, because there is a lot to be. And SoCal, you know, I do wonder, again, when you're a team as high-seeded as them, you know, what do you ban here? Do you ban out something that Minnesota's maybe super comfortable on, or, you know, something that you might not have a full roster for? SoCal has a lot of depth across a lot of skill sets here, so it's hard to believe that they have anything in here that they wouldn't be able to play, especially on a round of 16 pool. They have so much manipulability, if that's not even a word. It doesn't even sound like one. It doesn't even feel like one when I say it, but that's what I'm getting at here. They've got quite a bit. They've got a good little bit of DT behind them. They got a hell of a lot of hidden behind them. Weakest skill set for SoCal, probably Hard Rock, if I'm being honest. I don't really see a 3-player Hard Rock roster that compares to a lot of the other teams that are running alongside SoCal up in the winners bracket. You know, teams like Virginia, NorCal, Texas. Like, I could put 3-player Hard Rock rosters together for basically every single one of those states.
Well, and they're gonna lend credence to your claim there with the Hard Rock 2 ban. So you are right on with that one. There goes our Hard Rock 2. It has barely been touched this week, unfortunately. Deer Dance just does not get to exist. So yeah, the team that maybe isn't so great at Hard Rock, going ahead, banning out the Precision. And it will be first pick to Minnesota. I feel like it's maybe just like a hidden 2 angle. I feel like they're a pretty solid reading team, no?
Minnesota want to pick hidden into SoCal is the question. I mean, JP...
Specifically
Caleb,
low AR hidden. Specifically low AR hidden.
But they have JP, Caleb, and Utami, and everyone that can play reading in the entire world. I'm so concerned if they do. Like, I just don't know.
Does Cal count as like an Air 8 hidden player? I mean,
Cal can play anything. Cal is like the Jesus of California. Unironically, like, Cal is terrifying in so many skill sets. So, you know, I don't know what I would expect from Minnesota right now. Oh, it's okay. Well,
well, we're just doing this. We're just doing this. All right. Okay. Well,
saw that. Should have seen that coming.
Yeah, everybody knows how this one goes. If you drop ACK, you lose. If you miss, you lose. If you 3-way FC, you maybe win.
This is winnable for Minnesota. This is like probably one of their strongest skill sets overall as a team, is going to be like the consistency streams at this BPM. Because this map automatically puts in Lillian and Destin, who were 2 of the best performers for Minnesota last week. I think this is Destin's skill set through and through. Destin is just the Cappy of Minnesota, unironically. Like, he will just rock this map. Lillian had so much consistency last week, so, you know, to stack up on top of that as a second, and then being able to put up a third for Minnesota, I imagine Swick will be pretty confident on this as a third, so this is a great trio for Minnesota. SoCal, they've got a hell of a lot of mechanics players to match up. However, it's going to be about whether or not the consistency on the accuracy stands as usual, I imagine, between these two teams. I don't see any misses coming out between either side here.
Yeah, no, this is like 6-way FC, 99 ACK on basically everyone, and it's just going to be an ACK battle decided by some hundreds, I think. That's at least kind of the expectation for me on this pick in this matchup. We've seen our fair share of FCs on this map over the course of the weekend. The stats on this are going to be actually hilarious, I'm pretty sure, once the round is over.
Wait, Destin's injured and can't play? Tell me it's a joke.
I'm going to guess he's joking. I'm going to guess he's joking. But we're going to see here. It's, okay, how do you pronounce... The guy on the top for SoCal, how do you pronounce his name?
I have always said Rico L.
If it's just Rico L, that's fine. But
is it Rico L or Recol? I feel like
Ricola. He's actually a throat lozenge.
Yeah?
Ricoel?
Rico
Anyway,
is fine. Rico would work, yeah.
Okay. I think we're actually good here. Man, I hope this... Okay, respectfully, I would like this match to not take this long on every single pick and ready and start. But we should be good to go here. It's Ricoel, Easy Chaku Tommy, Swick, Lillian, and Destin. Nomad 4, everybody's favorite map. This has been some absolute cinema of over the course of this weekend. It's been the high drama pick. Like, in all seriousness, I am not joking about that at all.
It is the narrative that I've been kind of giving for this map over the course of the entire weekend has been that every time this map has been picked this weekend in a match, the team that has been down in points has won it. Now, this map has also, I don't think, ever been first picked, so that narrative can't really exist when there is no points on the board, leaving me kind of listless for what could potentially happen here. Destin and Ricoel finding a couple early hundreds here, but certainly not enough to swing the fate of the map entirely.
I say this was first picked in one other match, but only one other match. It was the first pick in Texas versus Arizona. You guys literally had it first pick in your own match, Chillier.
What? Huh? I'm sorry. That was Saturday night. I do not comprehend.
Yeah, every other match has been at least the third pick or later into the match. So, you know, you're close there.
Yeah, this is unfortunately right now for Minnesota not going in their favor in terms of accuracy, but once again, it's not enough 100 count for Minnesota to completely decide the fate of the map. We've had a lot of teams this weekend where you have one player that falls to like barely 99 or into the 98s, and that will ruin it for your team. But, you know, 99.67 on two players, I mean, that's like 3 100s max. I think it's 3 for Destin and Swick right now. Lillian, unfortunately, dropping 3 right there is not going to help them out, however. That is... oh no, Swick!
All right, it's over. It's over. Goodbye. Swick just evaporated.
No!
Swick evaporated. And that's just the map. Congratulations, SoCal. It's going to be 1-0 breakpoint to start things off. The Nomad 4 Gambit not paying off this time around, sadly. And, yeah, 5 FCs and SS on Utami. A 3-mil team score for SoCal with a total of 6 100s. And it's just sadly Swick falling despite the good plays from Lillian and Destin. And 1-0 SoCal breakpoint. You know, it's the coin flip. It's the Gambit. And sometimes the Gambit pays off and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, you know, Swick can maybe take a little bit of comfort in knowing that miss or not, Minnesota was going to lose that map. SoCal as a team had less 100s than Destin by himself. And even with that, Lillian at 5 100s effectively meant that Swick and Destin would have both had to double S to beat the accuracy of SoCal. Otherwise, it would have been, you know, kind of down to the last possible second on that map. And with that Nomad 4 there, having, I believe, 0... Does that have 1 spinner, or, I think, in it? Am I remembering correctly? Yeah, 1 spinner. So it would have come down to spin to win.
Well,
but that's tragic.
Sadly, it was just not meant to be.
Minnesota. They are starting down, unfortunately, which is not the way that you want to start off against a team that is, unfortunately, significantly higher seeded than you. Minnesota trying the gambit that a lot of other teams have gone in for. And SoCal, even missing Cal for that map, still were able to pull out a pretty decent-sized break there. And now it goes into their own pick. I imagine SoCal picks hidden into Minnesota, to be perfectly honest. Minnesota, while they do have some hidden players, I don't know if they have any, like, too many players that are, like, ultra preference. Oh, but it's 3-3. It's aim time. Okay, understandable.
Everybody do the flop. I don't actually know how I feel about this as a first pick, but I also don't know how I feel about Nomad 4 as a first pick, so we're just, like, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if it sticks. Just pick the 7-star aim map first after your opponents pick the 180 BPM stream practice map first. I think, yeah, sure. If you feel good on aim, then go for it. This is also I think this map. Sorry to interrupt. I think this map, if you're picking this, you are effectively saying we have the better Hard Rock game player than you do. Because like on Hidden and Nomad, this is so much easier than on Hard Rock, which makes this map a lot more challenging. That it feels like if you have somebody who's super solid on this with Hard Rock and the expected solid players on Nomad and Hidden, like you're in a good position.
I agree fully. It's something I've been talking about with a lot of the free mods this weekend, right? You know, if you have the stronger Hard Rock player on these free mods, you generally have a little bit of leeway over some of the other teams because Hidden and Nomad are a little bit more accessible. Oh, worst map out of Swick. That is not what you want to see out of kind of the token aim player from Minnesota. I mean, Swick has kind of made a name for himself with his ability to play aim maps. So if he doesn't want to play this, well, yeah, you might be in for a rough start on this map. We got Lillian and Destin in for large aim jumps here. Those are also not two players that I usually think of when I think of aim time, but I respect it. They are probably the best two other players, to be perfectly honest, on the Minnesota roster. I do believe that, you know, the Swick, Lillian, Destin, especially after last week, is their strongest roster or one of their strongest rosters as a trio for their state. Now, God, the world, if Minnesota could ever pick up Ampy again for their roster, they would unironically be freaking terrifying, but they got to run with what they got. And it was really good last week, and it unfortunately didn't start off good this week, but maybe it can make a switch here. Only one map in.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're very early in this, and with SoCal opting into this big aim pick first, which is generally speaking the least predictable sort of skill set. Minnesota could spin this one right back their way in a hurry. You know, a break or two on some of the big aim sections in this from SoCal where Minnesota hits. And, you know, this could be a break point right back the other way. Expected mods, I think, here. You've got Hard Rock Utami hidden on You're Cute, Nomad Easy Chalk, Swick on the hidden, Lillian on the Hard Rock, Destin on Nomad for Minnesota. And, you know, this one, you're going to see pretty solid act on everyone. It's just going to be the misses and where they occur and on whom they occur.
Yeah, it's going to be those big jump spikes where we're really going to have to start seeing it right here, and it's Lillian to miss on the Hard Rock pretty early here again. Definitely the most difficult mod on this map overall. Easy Chalk, however, going to find a break on the Nomad, going to give Minnesota an avenue into this pick. Unfortunately, Lillian not only falling behind on that singular miss, but a couple more in an act drop. But JP finding a break is huge, and Minnesota may have caught a break there a bit.
That's going to be the 2FC to 1 advantage now for Minnesota. Let's see how long Destin and Swick can hold on. Utami holding the Hard Rock FC is a high value, but if you don't have a backing FC on one of the quote-unquote easier mods, it's not going to matter all that much. Let's see how long Destin and Swick can keep this up. They're both obviously on super high accuracy with the FC still attack. Lillian's struggling quite a bit. That will start to matter eventually with it only being halfway through the map if Lillian is unable to put together a combo. But for now, it is Minnesota staying in the lead. There goes Utami. That's the lone FC gone for SoCal.
That's huge. It's unfortunately a lot of combo for California right now, though, so if either Destin or Swick find a break, but neither of them miss on the big jump section there, and Minnesota, they're making this look all too possible. It's 150,000 score left with a quarter of the map here. JP and Easy Chalk, they're both great aim players, but can they hold it out to the ending and hope for a break from Minnesota? Minnesota needs to lock this in to bring that break point back straight over to them, and they might be the aim team to look out for in this match as we come into the last couple seconds. It's 300k, and this is looking insurmountable, T1G.
Insurmountable indeed. It's several 100,000 points regardless of what Lillian does. A double FC is going to do the job here for Minnesota. The late break from Swick does come in, so from Testin as well. Doesn't matter with SoCal finding 3 breaks on the ending, and that is back-to-back break points to open up this match. Minnesota looking a lot more comfortable and calm and collected on the aim pick than was SoCal. Easy Chalk, that is unfortunate. 0-100, 0-53 misses, but damage done throughout, and Minnesota, just like that, 1-1.
Well done to Minnesota. Extremely good performance from Swick and Destin on that map. Double 900k plus. Lillian, unfortunately, kind of just getting stuck on the hardest mod combination there, unfortunately. If you are not a skill cap Hard Rock player, this map will be very, very uncomfortable for you. And in my mind, Lillian is not always the person I would put immediately on Hard Rock. So they did a great job for what they had to do. Put up a 400k, which was close enough to make that possible for Swick and Destin to bring in. And the traded break points at the beginning is something that we saw in the match immediately before this as well. Maryland versus Oregon started their match off with traded break points as well. The question is, in that match, Maryland was able to win every other map following that. Will Minnesota be able to find a couple more picks left here in order to bring themselves success? They certainly made it work against New Jersey, almost plot armor for Minnesota. And like we said, making that work against SoCal is an entirely different battle, but it's certainly not impossible. Round of 16 will feel very accessible to the skill range of the Minnesota players here.
They will have to find a good pick here in a way that they didn't on their first map. Now, you don't have a huge amount of aim in this pool. I mean, there is free mod 2, which is pretty aimy. But other than that, not a lot of remaining aim. The hidden 2, as you know, kind of discussed earlier, maybe not a great option for them. So it is likely going to have to be another skill set than the one that they just pulled off that break point on. You know, but it's Hard Rock 1. So
I like it.
Amy tech, right? I mean, this is got some aim, got some bursts, a little control factor to it, a little bit of rhythm changing, but pretty accessible as far as tech Hard Rock goes.
Yeah, it's I think the way I've kind of described this map is if you were around in like 2019, 2020 tournaments pretty frequently, a lot of the time in tournaments, Hard Rock had like a light tech labeled slot, and this is what I would kind of put as that sort of skill set. It's mostly flow aim, couple 1/3 patterns, couple slider patterns mixed in, but otherwise, it's a very comfortable, accessible tech-like slot, and it was very often found in Hard Rock, so you know, reminiscent in this slot with the Hard Rock 1 as well for a lot of players. But we mentioned at the start of this match, something that I pointed out about SoCal is that they're one of the few teams in that top 6 to 8 where I can't really pick out a standout Hard Rock roster of 3 players that I know would FC a Hard Rock, you know, 8 to 9 out of 10 times, right? They have a good Hard Rock roster, and by no means are they going to be weak at the skill set, but this is probably one of the better avenues for Minnesota to go in this match.
Yeah, I definitely like the pick here, both because of that factor, and of course, you know, we just saw objectively like SoCal banned out Hard Rock too. Obviously, you know, it's a precision pick rather than something that's a more basic light tech, but still in the Hard Rock pool, you see a team ban out Hard Rock, it feels like it's often a good idea to say, hey, let's try the other Hard Rock as long as it's something you're comfortable with. And I think Minnesota should be that here. They've got the roster of Swick, Lily, and Destin once more. Tommy315 and Yurku going to see if SoCal can make 3 straight break points to open this matchup. But I like this adjustment from Minnesota. You know, the first pick in the stream practice map not going super well, but saying, hey, let's go Hard Rock 1 after we won the Fremont 3 aim map.
The one thing that's going to worry me about this map for Minnesota, and I know the skill sets are not really comparable, but Lillian really, really struggled on the Hard Rock on that free mod 3. And while the aim on that map is quite a bit more difficult than this map, it has yet to be determined of whether or not the Hard Rock or the skill set itself was the reason for that struggle. And it's going to be very telling pretty early on who's confident on the Hard Rock. And right now, it certainly is not SoCal. You're cute 94, 315 with a break already. And in the immediate start of the map, it is just Utami left to fend for himself.
Well, Utami, who can play everything, unsurprising to see him as the last FC remaining on the SoCal side. But there goes his FC as well, and it's a 3-way for Minnesota through this first section. As SoCal struggling to pick up the pieces from the early misses.
Lillian proving that it was not the Hard Rock that was the issue, it was the aim map. As we rock with a triple FC for Minnesota through the first difficult intro section of this map in SoCal with 2 players on rough, accuracy, and that's compared to Minnesota with a player sitting below 98 and both the other players below 99. Utami, not too far ahead as well, 98.5. No FCs. It's JP on the highest score for SoCal right now. Utami and JP have got to hold these combos for as long as possible to prevent Minnesota from absolutely running away with this as we go into our first tech-heavy section here with the slider 1/3.
And this is a big section here. If Minnesota can come out of this with 2 of their 3 FCs at least remaining, they will be in a really good spot going into the last third of the map. It's a quite tricky section with the rhythm changes and the slightly awkward direction-changing bursts, but they are holding through so far. Getting through the space, there's no, it's Lillian to fall. But
this is okay.
Wick and Destin held. They have 2 FCs still intact. Now, it is a similar amount of combo on both sides. I think it's very, very close. But it's going to be that 400k lead staying intact for Minnesota for the moment.
As much as I hate to say it, it was actually better for Minnesota that Lily had found that break. Swick, what in the hell are you missing on? And Minnesota may actually lose the map off of that if California doesn't find a break. I was going to say it's better.
He's not the second person to miss on that section, by the way, that I've seen. And in the other instance, I believe it did cause the team to lose the map straight up. It is a break from 315. Utami and your is still holding on, and Destin with the FC might be able to hold them at bay. But it's going to come down to the absolute final seconds of this pick, one way or another.
It's so close. I don't know if it's going to come down. Destin has about 250k left, a potential score here. He must hold this full combo. Hits the space stream and JP misses, and that might be the avenue for it for Minnesota. They've got backing combos on Swick and Lillian, and that's going to be it. Destin, the hero once again for Minnesota. We saw him do this against New Jersey last week, putting up the full combo, and California not able to bring this back to their side. And Minnesota, with their own pick, will not let another breakpoint go, and they go up 2-1 on the 4th seed in the round of 16.
That is such a clutch showing from Destin, pulling out the FC there, man. Really, really impressive stuff, and they needed that score. And really, again, you know, it's Minnesota, aside from the Destin score, just a good team score regardless. 315 struggled quite a bit. Your cute and Utami had pretty decent scores, but you got to get, you know, a 900k or an FC on that out of somebody. It just did not happen. So Minnesota showing what they're capable of. And here is going to be that hidden 2 pick. We have discussed it kind of both directions. SoCal very confident on the low AR hidden, but I do think this Minnesota team can absolutely challenge them on this skill set.
And this is not the most overlappy or reading heavy hidden 2 ever. This kind of goes back to almost like the, if anyone was around for like the Maze of Vapor days for, you know, hidden 2 slots where more like awkward dense aim and finger control over perfect stacks where you actually have to be super confident on the reading skill set itself. This is a super strong pick for SoCal, regardless of whether or not Minnesota is going to be able to play this. JP is like a hidden main player, and he's going to be ridiculously comfortable on this. Utami, a crazy reading player as well. I mean, we saw the easy hidden SS on the free mod last week. And Caleb can basically play everything, but AR8 hidden is one of his strongest skill sets as well. So overall, as a roster, if California is able to find the consistency that they have unfortunately not seen in the beginning of this match, Minnesota will have no avenue into this pick whatsoever. However, if California continues playing the way that they have been in this match thus far and finding these random breaks everywhere, then it gets interesting. But on paper, the California roster is immensely stronger than what Minnesota's going to be able to put up here.
Yeah, this just feels like such a, pardon the phrase, it feels like such a shit-missable map, right? Like, we've seen multiple cases of players getting, you know, like 1 or 2 100s and a couple of misses on this map, because that's just kind of how basic, you know, kind of generic aim low AR hidden seems to play out. And over the last couple of points, you know, the 2 points that they've won so far, Minnesota has been a very consistent team. They had the more consistent combos, obviously throughout the Hard Rock 1 that they just won, but really did have the more consistent combos through the Free Mod 3 as well, with the double FC holding nearly into the ending. So if that continues, there's breakpoint chances here. That being said, I do agree that SoCal seems to have a ridiculous low air hidden roster.
Yeah, if we don't see a double FC or a near double FC on Cal and Utami on this map, I would be significant. I would be like awestruck at that. That would be unbelievable to me to not see a double FC on those two here. You know, that's, I mean, it's kind of like in my match where like, if you expect Toybot or Woey to miss on this map, you are like kind of the crazy one in thinking, well, that's kind of the same thing with California for Cal and Utami. Eves, gonna find an early break. We've seen actually, I feel like I've seen more players break at this beginning section than the finger control section, which is kind of crazy as we come into the finger control section. Oh,
and
boy.
it's going to be Cal with a big drop. That's several misses and obviously loses the combo score as well. Accuracy down at 98. So advantage was on Minnesota, but there is going to be Eves trading it and back down to low accuracy for him as well, down at 97. And there goes Swick, who you really can't afford to have break on this map. And Rico L and Utami now double FC against just Lillian, the lone remaining combo for Minnesota. SoCal is going to pull away with this one in the back half.
This is unfortunately not a Swick map. Swick is good at a lot of things, and AR8 hidden is not one of his favorite skill sets here. So California coming out on top with this one. Utami on the double S as we kind of expected. Caleb, unfortunately, the one to find the miss, but Rico L doing a great job to hold down an FC alongside Utami here with great act. Better than any player on Minnesota. And there goes Lillian, and that's going to be the pick lost for Minnesota definitively. It already was, but now it certainly is with the double FC on SoCal as this match goes 2-2.
And that's just a solid performance from SoCal coming into the ending. No SS's, but two very high accuracy FCs on Rico L and Utami. 2.8 mil, a really good team score. And yeah, Minnesota just did not have an avenue on that one with their third score being sub 400K. Never going to match up to a team to put up a score like SoCal did there. So interesting start to this match, I dare say. Back-to-back break points followed by pretty comfortable back-to-back, hold points.
Yeah, unfortunately, that map was kind of over. The second Minnesota found a second break, that map was over. The double FC on SoCal, extremely strong. Again, we talked about the fact that Minnesota could probably win a couple of points on Hidden against certain teams, but this SoCal roster, I mean, when you have a Hidden 2 roster that is so strong that you don't even need to use JP, that's crazy. Because he is, again, probably one of the most consistent overall Hidden players on that roster, as well as some of the players we have in here. So their depth on Hidden just goes so deep for SoCal. And Minnesota, while they didn't win the Hidden here, there are plenty of maps left in the pool that I think that they can win. Unfortunately, Hard Rock gone for them. Fremod, I don't know if there's any map left in Fremod that would be as confident for them as that Hard Rock 1 slot in here, so they're really going to be grasping at something new here, at least for this slot. If they can find a skill set where they have a bit of an advantage on SoCal, maybe they'll have another pick in the back there to drag this match to match point, because I have a feeling that that's where this is headed right now.
I could see a world where this is maybe a free mod again, and indeed, it's going to be the free mod 2. I actually maybe kind of anticipated the free mod 1, but free mod 2 works fine as well. Slightly higher BPM aim free mod, as with some more bursts and streams to it than something like the free mod 3, which is really just raw aim. This one up at 232 BPM, couple of longer streams, a lot of aim, some like slider patterns in this that you can break on. I've seen some people break on the little bits of flow that pop up here and there as well, so be careful with it pretty much the entire way through. This has not been one of the. Wait, I lied. This has been like a decently popular match this week, or map this week. It's just always been in matches that I didn't watch. I don't know how that happened. Like, I've seen this played like twice, and it's been picked 7 times in total. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I've seen this map a lot this weekend. I guess it's just been picked a lot in my matches, but certainly is a map that falls in line with a lot of the more consistent teams this weekend. At least the perceived more consistent teams have chosen to pick this map out here. Painted Koala, Lillian, and Destin going to be rocking this one out again. As we kind of talked about, this is probably their strongest trio by far as a state. SoCal, really good team at the mechanics, the consistency. Having JP in for this on the Hidden, and I imagine Utami on for Nomad and Caleb on the Hard Rock for SoCal. For Minnesota, I worry if they put Lillian on the Hard Rock again that we're going to see a repeat of Free Mod 3. And Free Mod 3 is significantly more uncomfortable than Free Mod 2 in terms of overall mapping style, which I think would be more dangerous for Minnesota than that map. But we have yet to see. I believe we're going to see Swick on the Hidden again. He's played it all match thus far, and yes, they have run it. So it's Swick Hidden, Lillian Hard Rock, JP Hidden, Utami is going to be the one going on the Hard Rock. I guess they're going to put Cal on the consistency, and Destin alongside that, easily two of the most consistent players in this match thus far. Destin's going to have to come up big here for Minnesota, I think.
And this does make sense for SoCal. Historically, early rounds, Utami has always been the Hard Rock player because the pools are at a level where he can Hard Rock the free mods and, you know, guarantee pretty solid scores. Maybe not work out 100% of the time, but that's their general strat. It is a couple early breaks. You're Cute breaking the Hidden FC, and Lillian breaking the Hard Rock FC. And you said that is kind of the player to maybe be a little concerned about. Lillian did not look to have a great time on Hard Rock on Free Mod 3, so we'll see if that can be recovered a little bit with this pick. 2 FCs to 2, though, through the early going, so nothing going to be too crazy about this. Those two are only about 15 combo apart at most. There's breaking again, though. You start to get concerned when you see breaks on the easier sections of the map.
I mean, you know, Lillian did a great job on the Hard Rock 1 to hold it down, but the Free Mod 3 was significantly more focused around the same skill set as this pick, right? It's the aim that they very clearly struggle on, and that is what this map is all about through and through. So SoCal absolutely must find some more breaks in order for Minnesota to get into this. And again, look at this, Lillian. It's the same thing we saw on Free Mod 3. Lillian going to be struggling the entire map, evidently, here. Utami, however, finding a break is going to continue to save Minnesota, similarly to what we saw in the Free Mod 3. These absolutely ridiculous breaks from SoCal going to be giving them breathing room as we come into a big jump spike here, and nobody misses it.
And this is going to be a very interesting situation that's going to play out because we have Cal still on the FC. You're Cute on a pretty decent backing combo. It's a double FC for Minnesota, still alive on Swick and Destin, but Lillian is not even at 150k yet, and because of that, the double FC is not able to put in the work that it otherwise probably should, with SoCal just having the better backing scores. Lillian on this map is going to have more of an effect when you have that poor of a score relative to your opposing number. A lot of maps still to go, though. Still halfway, 78k score gap at this point. But Lillian's going to need to put it together here in the second half of the map, or Minnesota's going to need SoCal to find more breaks, because one person can tank a score pretty badly when they continue being completely unable to put together anything resembling a combo.
Lillian has unfortunately just been forced to tank the Hard Rock on this map and the Free Mod 3 as well. We're coming into another big spike here. Every player in the lobby on 99% accuracy with the exception of Lillian right now. And once again, Minnesota, they need to hope for a big break from SoCal on this big spike section here. Minnesota, they cannot afford a single miss, and the pressure is on for Destin and Swick right now. Swick has traditionally been really consistent at the beginning of the maps, but has yet to put up an FC all the way through one of these maps. And if there was ever going to be a pick that he needed to put up the FC on, it's going to be this one. We're seeing the consistency out of SoCal again on a significantly more accessible map as Caleb under-aims on absolutely nothing. And that's Minnesota saved in this run as the score slowly starts to even out here. It's going to be a slight advantage to SoCal, but only for a little while as we're already back to 80k, another big jump section, and Minnesota now has the opportunity to close it out. Lillian breaking is going to halt it, but it's still going to go. The combos are there. The double FC. It's a 500 combo advantage for Minnesota right now. Caleb breaking again might save them again. It's an eighth of the way left in the map. Can Destin and Swick do it?
It's gotta be the double FC for Minnesota here on Swick and Destin. They absolutely must hold on to this double FC. This score is so close. I believe it will come back in the very last seconds, but it's going to be down to the absolute wire, and there it goes over. In the last moments, the double FC is going to save their bacon, and SoCal is just going to come up short of a break point on this one. The double FC from Minnesota. Destin and Swick are going to put in the work that they needed, and they're going to escape with this point by 32k. That was scary close for a map where they had a double FC, including a modded player. But they made it happen.
I've got chills, T1G. I've got chills. This is the exact same outcome that we saw on the Free Mod 3 just 2 picks ago. Destin and Swick, ridiculous plays from both of them. Almost FCs on the Free Mod 3. Guaranteed FCs locked in on the Free Mod 2. And Lillian on the 400k, tanking that Hard Rock for their team once again. And that is absolutely ridiculous from Minnesota. Once again, taking the lead on the 4th seed overall in this tournament. The underdog story for the ages. The 20th seed continuing to turn heads. And T1G, it's looking all more likely that we may potentially be headed for that coveted tiebreaker moment. It's one more map for Minnesota to bring it in. SoCal needs 2. It's their pick. They need to make this match even now. Otherwise, we may see a repeat of what Minnesota did to New Jersey last weekend.
I mean, if Minnesota can get a break point here, they guarantee tiebreaker, give themselves a couple of match points. So who knows? I mean, if they can lock in on this next SoCal pick, you just never know. It would be quite a thing to see. And this pool starts to get constricted quickly. I mean, you've got a couple bans and 5 picks out of the way on a pool that just is not that many maps, right? It's only 15 maps before, other than the tiebreakers. So the options start to thin, and the things that SoCal is much stronger on start to be, you know, kind of removed, and you start to see some more picks that might be a little more balanced. And it is going to be the Nomad 3 pick here. So we are going to go completely switching it up is what we're going to do. We're going to go aim control, finger control, rhythm after seeing some aim for several picks in a row.
Well, this is the night of underdog stories, T1G. For those of you that are unaware, on the B stream, we had another match running, and Connecticut, the 32 seed in the tournament, eliminating Colorado, the 17th seed, 5-2 just moments ago on the B stream. Minnesota has the opportunity to create quite a special Monday night for this tournament right now. The Earth going to be falling more in line with that hidden 2 and the direction that we saw with the more gimmicky slot for SoCal. Minnesota, again, not the team that we usually put up on a pedestal when it comes to this sort of skill set. And I imagine SoCal going to continue running with this for as long as they possibly can. However, once this Nomad 3 is gone, there's really not a whole lot more of this gimmick left in the pool unless SoCal wants to go for something like DT3 for a little bit more of something awkward here. Maybe that Nomad 2 going into tech, but otherwise, Minnesota, they're going to need to find something big here. And my eyes are slowly drawing over to Nomad 1 for them, T1G.
I don't know what my eyes are going to be drawn to. Honestly, I just want to see what happens with the Earth here. To be perfectly honest, this is every map is its own storyline in this matchup, the way that this has played out so far. And this is a skill set that Utami has done very well on in the past. This is a skill set that SoCal is likely pretty good at, but Minnesota has some decent enough gimmicky players, and this map throws enough things at you, man. I don't know. This is scary already.
I am terrified for how this match could potentially end up, and I am also terrified for the possibility that one of these two teams could prevent tiebreaker for the other. It is wholly possible with the way both sides have been playing right now for someone to find a bit of a slip up. Right now, I think this map is pretty California favored on paper, especially given the outcome of that Hidden 2. Eve's already finding struggles here. It's the exact same thing that we saw on the Hidden 2. Eve struggling early, and Swick and Lillian to hold, however. Rico L to find a break, matching up to Eves right now, giving a little bit of an avenue into this. Eves very clearly struggling here, but Rico L's really bad accuracy right now. Unfortunately, everyone on Minnesota has bad ac.
Yeah, I mean, you're at 95, 94. Eve's actually at 98, so the best of the accuracy on the team has the worst combo. 95 on recoil, but the 98 and on 97 on Utami and Cal. And there goes Eves once again. There goes Lillian. There goes Swick. And that's pretty much the map decided right there. That's going to be a full reset for Minnesota. Double FC still intact for SoCal. Utami and Cal just going to be bringing this one in the last quarter of the map. This one is done and dusted with a 400k lead. No combo to speak of on Minnesota. Utami does break. Still not back to the Utami we used to know in tournaments in 2021 and 2022, but not going to matter too much on this particular pick. And SoCal going to tie it up 3-3, so it's going to be each team with one map left in this match. And drama on high alert here as this is coming down to the wire of this match.
Good stuff from California to hold it down. Not a single FC in the lobby. Certainly not the strongest team scores we've seen of the weekend on this map, but respectable enough. Cal putting up that 855k, only a slider break for themselves and Utami. Utami sitting at almost 99% accuracy, the highest in the lobby by a pretty good margin. Everyone on Minnesota very clearly struggling on the finger control there. Eves, unironically, was actually struggling with the aim at the beginning. He had such high accuracy because his finger control was spot on, but he was under-aiming absolutely every single pattern. And Minnesota continuing the trend of not being super good at the gimmick. California being just a little bit better across the board here, something that we kind of expected going in. And now it's Minnesota's turn to really try and go back in to the mechanics that they've had so much luck with today. Unfortunately, they've picked out every aim map that has been available in this pool unless they want to go for super high BPM, super high ARDT maps. The best possible map for them if they want to continue going into consistency, and there it is! The Nomad 1, I said that this was probably the map that was at the front of my mind for Minnesota, and if there was ever something that was going to force match point for them, it's going to be this map. If the consistency can stand on Destin and Swick, and man, Destin's a stream player, this will be pretty damn comfortable if they can hold down the aim. Minnesota might be in looking to force that tiebreaker guaranteed. Potentially the win, because California is out of gimmick, T1G. They're gone.
Yeah, they're gonna have very few options left for their last pick. They'll have Nomad's 2 and 5, Hidden 1, BC's 1 and 2, Fremod 1. But first we gotta see what happens with this Nomad 1 consistency tapping map. And this is the closest comparison you can make. There isn't really a great comparison from the first week. You had Nomad 2, the break core that was like the quote-unquote kind of speed tapping map in the pool. Closest thing to this map. And these two teams were very similar on that one. 2.5 million for SoCal, 2.4 million for Minnesota last week. So right there neck and neck in the rankings on about the only map you can kind of compare to this one. But even then, pretty different overall. The consistency has gone well for Minnesota this match. As you said, this was a map that you looked at as being a good pick here for Minnesota, and we'll see if it plays out as such. See if Swick and Destin can continue to perform on their own picks, get Lillian off of Hard Rock onto something that maybe will go a little bit better. Utami, Easy Chalk, and Cal gonna try to play spoiler here to Minnesota's upset hopes, but it's Nomad 1 standing in their way. And it would be a match point for Minnesota if they can win their own pick here. So this is drama.
Oh boy, this is going to be a crazy pick here. I'm going to mention it again because I mentioned it at the beginning of the match and I saw someone mention it in chat again. But remember when I said, imagine Minnesota if they had Ampy? Oh my gosh. They would unironically be like a top 8 team. Easy. This has been the craziest showing and the most underseeded team in this entire tournament by so freaking much. It
Georgia.
is crazy.
Sorry.
No, Minnesota gaps. I don't even care what anyone says. Minnesota. And there goes Caleb missing at the beginning, but it's a double break from Minnesota. This is going to be the one rough part, but Easy Choke and Utami both break. Wait a second, is it Swick time?
It is a Swick angle right now. The only player to make it through the kick slider patterns, which me. Oh,
he missed the same note I did. He missed the same note I did.
Linear flow pattern catches him out with the miss aim, and it's just gonna be level.
Oh, that is literally the exact same note that I missed in my match, and I feel for Swick. That linear name right there. However, for Minnesota, Easy Chalk and Caleb have found a second break each, and that once again gives the combo advantage over to Minnesota by just the tiniest of margins. Lillian and Destin alongside Swick. Minnesota need to find the consistency on this map. They need to find the aim. They need to be able to hit these longer bursts as we go through this map. This is the point of no return for Minnesota, in my opinion. If they are not able to pick this map up, I think it will speak the end of their run in the winner's bracket here. But they're holding on. California right alongside. 99.9 for Utami. Only a singular break on the slider section at the beginning. And I think Minnesota are going to need to see another break from California. I'm not liking how much more confident California is on the ACK right now. But it's easy chalk.
But it's easy chalk with the break, so ACK be damned. It's the combo that's what matters. And realistically, it's not even bad accuracy from Minnesota. Slightly lower 99 for Lillian, mid 98s for Destin. But, I mean, you'll take it if you've got the combo. And we've got a third of the map still to go, and this one is anybody's map. It's about, what, 80k maybe. It's combo advantage, though, to Minnesota, so that lead will grow. They've got to continue to hold. They've got to make it almost all the way to the ending before this is anything approaching safe, because SoCal is hot on their heels with those sizable combos on Utami and on Cal. Easy Chalk recovering, has the accuracy, as mentioned, in their favor. Man, this is going to be tense stuff, but Minnesota's got the combo to do it for the moment.
They have a huge score lead now, too. This is almost 200,000 score in favor of Minnesota. Nobody missing that square pattern right there, but Destin finding an under aim, and now Minnesota needs to hope from a break from California into this ending. They've made it through the hardest sections of the map, and expecting a break to come from California at the end of this map is so unlikely, but it needs to happen. Lillian and Painted Koala, it's Swick. It's these two into the ending. It's 100k and going down. There's so much note density at the end of this map, T1G, but I think it might be over. Did they do enough? Minnesota, it's 100k still. I think they might have done it into the final triples. Destin finds a break, but it's still 100k, and Minnesota force match point against California.
Unbelievable scenes here. The upset alert in full blast here, going off. Minnesota, man, just a solid performance from everyone there. 739k on Swick, 725k on Lillian, and just shy of 600k on Destin. I mean, that is all you could ever hope for. And SoCal, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are in the round of 16 in winners, and SoCal is down match point to the 20th seeded team in the bracket.
Extremely good performance from Minnesota overall. The consistency from this team tonight has been mind-blowing. A singular 100 on Swick, 0 100s on Utami. Both teams are going at it at their full strength today. We talked about the beginning of this match about how SoCal didn't really need to give it their all in round of 32. Well, they're being sat on their asses by Minnesota right now in the round of 16. Down 1 point, forced to win their own pick, and with no gimmick left in the pool to speak of, I think they may have to go in for some tech or maybe trust their DT abilities as a roster. It's a good angle for them. Minnesota running with some of these high BPM, high picks, but it's hidden one. They're using the flow aim hidden. And T1G, this might force match point here.
Yeah, after how the Hidden 2 went earlier, really heavily in favor of SoCal, you gotta think that Hidden 1 is a good angle for them to take, and it is a necessary one. This is a must-win, of course, for SoCal to avoid falling the losers bracket. It would probably be the earliest time, I don't know, maybe ever. This is not a freebie, but SoCal definitely appears to be the much stronger Hidden team, so I do think this was probably the best option they had.
I agree. I think with the track record of this match thus far, this is by far the best avenue for SoCal. However, this is the least awkward Hidden 1 of all time. This is just pure flow aim, hidden density pick right here. So if you are even remotely confident with Hidden, you should be able to play this map because the style of it is quite comfortable. Destin, we talked about, is a stream player, doesn't really err on the side of hidden too much, so I'm very interested to see how they're going to be able to handle themselves. Lillian has traditionally been the best hidden player on the Minnesota roster thus far. However, Swick has been playing hidden on all the free mods for them and has been absolutely rocking it, and I see no reason that that should cease to be right now. Maybe we're going to see a flip between Lillian and Destin, what we saw in the free mod. Lillian kind of tanking the hard rock. Well, Destin, it's your turn to tank hidden, potentially. We'll see.
Yeah, this is, I think, a bit of an uphill battle for Minnesota with this pick, but, you know, you fall off a stream, you find a chain miss or just a chain act drop if you're SoCal, and it could be interesting. That being said, it's Lillian falling early and badly down to 90-ack, 93-ack on Destin, despite holding the FC down. We're not even 200 combo in, and it's a 100k lead almost for SoCal. Not what you want to see if you're rooting for Minnesota to close this out and avoid a tiebreaker.
Well, we talked about Minnesota getting to match point was crucial. Remember I said that if Minnesota didn't win that pick, I'd say that they probably would have just lost the match. And, well, this is kind of the reason why. I mean, SoCal has basically almost somewhat close to three-way FC'd. Basically every, you know, the hidden map in the pool here and some of these gimmicky picks. But accuracy starting to fall a little bit on some players from SoCal, and there is still 2 FCs being held up for Minnesota. Unfortunately, we are seeing the exact same thing that we have seen on the free mods twice for Minnesota right now. It is Swick and Destin, with Lillian really falling super far behind. Unfortunately, on the free mods, California found a couple of breaks, and on the hidden one, they are not right now. Any breaks from California, however, could throw this away pretty easily. We're running out of map. Oh, and there goes
Destin. We are now out of map.
Yep. We're done.
Well, our first and possibly only tiebreaker of the week is going to come in our second to last match of the week here, late Monday evening. It is going to be SoCal winning their own last pick, forcing the tiebreaker with a single FC on Cal, forcing the tiebreaker against Minnesota. Blinded in chains.
Oh, no score screen. Unlucky.
Yeah, we just switched instantly. The timing difference between the tourney client and what, you know, the IRC client is like vast. So unfortunately, we didn't really get to see much there.
FC on Swick.
Yeah, it was Swick on the FC. Recoil broke like 12 combo from the end. Still put up over 1 million score. But again, just unfortunately, Lillian having to play that mod tank role, so didn't go the greatest. But we get a tiebreaker, and that's what we're here for. At least one tiebreaker per round.
Ooh. This is going to be quite the battle. SoCal, definitely the skill cap roster in this match. There's a reason they're the 4th seed. There's a reason that they have traditionally been one of the most successful teams in the history of United States Cup. And it is due to that skill cap. And on tiebreaker, that's what your main focus is. However, Minnesota's consistency on this round of 16 pool for their seed and for their roster has been unreal. And it's been this exact roster that we're seeing right now. Swick, Lillian, and Destin. They are the 3 that have carried Minnesota to this point, as they now duke it out against SoCal for the chance to call themselves quarterfinals winners bracket contenders, and to face off, unfortunately, against Virginia next week. However, that's a distinction in and of itself, to knock SoCal down to the losers bracket in, I know it's technically not, but the biggest upset of United States Cup this year. Actually, no, this is the biggest upset of United States Cup this year. Georgia versus Tennessee was a 15 seed difference. This is a 16 seed difference. This is the largest upset of United States Cup possible this year if Minnesota pulls out tiebreaker here. No preference mods put on, no hiddens, no hard rocks, nothing fancy, just pure tiebreaker consistency. 6 minutes, 1 second, 192 BPM, Avenge Sevenfold, as Minnesota tries to knock SoCal down, and SoCal fights to stay in the winner's bracket.
And it's such an interesting situation to be in here. Minnesota was more consistent on some of the aim picks and stuff. We're very consistent on that Nomad one, but SoCal, like you said, that skill cap is very important when you go to Tiebreaker. And also maintaining your mental composure and avoiding the nerves and the shakes on a decently long map such as this one. This is 6 minutes. So you gotta stick with it. You gotta be locked in the whole way through. And so far, so good for everyone in the lobby. Little act lead for SoCal, but that's all the difference so far, 6 FCs.
If they are able to hold through the aim patterns on this map, I like Minnesota's odds here. Again, one of their strongest players in this match and in the round of 32 has been Destin. And I don't know how their nerves sit on a Tiebreaker, but this is Destin's skill set with these streamier styled consistency maps in here. So I'm hoping for Minnesota's sake that gives them a little bit of solace in this, as Lillian finds an early break, but there's a hell of a lot of map to go at 6 minutes here. And Caleb finding a chain miss is going to put him right alongside. Man, every time we've seen a break from Minnesota, it's a California trade on these consistency picks.
And once more, that dynamic duo, Swick and Destin, maintaining the double FC for Minnesota. It is key. It is Utami and Easy Chalk, though, matching it. They have basically dead even. It's a little bit of a combo lead for Minnesota. Now a little bit bigger. There's another break from Caleb. Lillian has recovered. And that's going to be advantage Minnesota now. Still only a quarter of the way through. Still a lot of time, a lot of combo to go.
Yeah, the big point of this map is going to be once we hit that halfway point, right? That's where the scores really start to take a big effect on score V2. And as long as Minnesota can hold this double FC through that point, California is going to be able to take no distance on them. And that's the best case scenario, right? Keep it as close as possible for as long as possible, and then hope your opposition finds a break somewhere in the latter half of the map where maybe the nerves start to take over, or maybe the consistency starts to give out. The likelihood increases as we go. These jumps, slightly concerning me again for a lot of these players here with the nerves kick in, and these double stack jumps start to become a little bit more difficult on this star rating. But everyone holding strong still. Utami and Easy Chalk on some big act, and it's Painted Koala and Easy Chalk to trade Lillian and Caleb as well. Destin, the hero for Minnesota, and he must attend the ending through this map all the way through with the combo alongside Utami, 99% accuracy. It's another break from Swick on this 1/3 section here. God, my fists are clenched right now.
It was just a perfect reset with Swick, Lillian, Easy Chalk, and Caleb. Unfortunately, Swick following up with another break. But it's a 1v1 here. It's Utami versus Destin, which is not maybe the 1v1 that I was expecting, but here we are. Easy Chalk will be the next to break. Combo advantage stays on the side of Minnesota. They will have a little bit of a score lead. It is Swick with that bit of a combo that is being built back up. The FC is gone for SoCal, and Destin, can you be the hero of the moment for Minnesota? Trying to pull off a monumental, historic upset. Lillian falls, but that's not the important one. That isn't the combo that matters. It is all eyes on Destin trying to bring this in. A third of the map to go, 500k score, 1800 combo. And Minnesota in the lead by the barest of margins, maybe 60,000 points, but that might be all that it takes.
Utami just broke at the worst possible point in the map on score V2 that you could possibly break at. That was almost exactly at halfway through the map, which means his score is capped off, and Destin hits one of the hardest streams in the map. Neither of his teammates are left to support him. It's only 100,000 score for Destin into the ending of this map. The final quarter, the final moments. It is 2 minutes left, less than 2 minutes in this map, and Destin finds another aim!
It's a reset for 4 players in the lobby, and now it is Caleb on the side of SoCal. 900 combo, trying to bring back 65,000 score in the last quarter of the map. He will have to hold the rest of the way through, and it might even take a little more help than that, but there's virtually no combo at all on the side of Minnesota. Easy Chalk breaks, but Lillian trades. We're just now watching Caleb. That is the player who matters the most coming into the last moments of this pick. Swick has recovered to a 300 combo. Destin is about 170, but that is a far cry from the 1,000 on Caleb, and that score gap is coming down quick, Chillair.
Lillian needs to start holding a combo. That is the big difference that's happening right now. 100k down from the next closest player, and that player is the one that has the 1100 combo for SoCal. Caleb, we talk about his consistency, how well they hold through this. A little bit of shakes for Caleb, though, right there. Oh my gosh, the shakes are unbelievable. This is totally possible to find a break at the end of the map for Caleb. He just has to hold for a few more seconds, but any miss from either team right now could decide the fate of this map at the ending right now. Any shakes possible. Caleb holding on for dear life. 1300 combo. It is just a fraction of 10,000 score for SoCal right now. A singular break, and it comes from Lillian, and into the final spinner. SoCal going to win it off of the back of Caleb, and the hearts of Minnesota are crushed at the end of the tiebreaker into the spinner, and literally by 27,000 points. And SoCal, man, they should not have won this match, but they come out with it at the end, 5-4 against Minnesota. And Destin, what more can he do for his team? What a performance the entire match.
It's just pure heartbreak for Minnesota. You can see, I mean, they're just instantly out of the lobby. The disappointment is palpable. They had the match in their grasp and just could not manage to hold on. And SoCal, I mean, it is last moment heroism there from Caleb bringing that combo into the ending. It is Utami top scoring for their team at the 625K. And there's an unfortunate looking score at the bottom of this MP for one player on that tiebreaker. And it happens. It's unfortunate, but that one score was the difference maker of this match, because man, oh man, Destin and Swick fought the whole way through. You gotta find the positives in this as best you can, and all of the players putting forth their best effort, but just coming up so short.
I am gonna go like down and deep right now. All of these players had an exceptional match here from both sides to duke it out on either side. However, when you look at the seeds that are associated with the teams on either side of this match, and I will say this unapologetically because I'm a player and not a staff member, but California are kind of frauds in this match, man.
Whoa,
Minnesota
whoa.
just smurfed on the 4 seed right here. But they did what they needed to do. The skill cap came out for California at the end, and they won the tiebreaker. They did what they needed to do. And if there is ever a matchup that I am terrified for California's survival on now, it's the match versus Virginia next week. They are going to seriously need to step it up.
Yeah, after the first match, you know, it was hard to predict what SoCal would look like after a match against, you know, a Louisiana team that just did not have it. But this match says that they are definitely looking a little shaky, but also says that Minnesota is looking really damn strong to take them all the way to that tiebreaker, and to have that tiebreaker come down to 27K at the very last second. I mean, it does not get any closer than that. And Minnesota is going to be another one of these just very, very scary teams.
Oh my gosh, the losers bracket is
Minnesota. Minnesota gets Illinois, and then they get the winner of Pennsylvania versus Wisconsin. So I mean, we're looking at some very winnable matches if they can keep up this form. They're gonna have to recover mentally. I think that's gonna take a toll. But if they can take the positives out of this match that I think that they should, they're gonna be poised for a pretty solid losers run, and it's gonna be very interesting to see what both of these two teams do going forward in the tournament.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Minnesota is going to terrorize the losers bracket, especially if this consistency manages to hold through when the skill cap starts to come out in these pools as it comes to be more difficult next week in quarterfinals. That's even going to be more scary. Luckily for SoCal, I think that they kind of have survived through some of the harder matches. Now, they have a ridiculously hard match next week in Virginia, without a doubt. However, on consistency-based pools is not usually where SoCal shines. It's usually on the skill cap. And as we saw in the tiebreaker, not quite all the way through, but they certainly had a little bit better of a time overall as a roster on the skill cap for the tiebreaker once they ran out of those gimmick hidden picks there. So they may have a slightly better time against Virginia than they had against Minnesota. But again, Virginia, such a strong team, going to give California some serious trouble next week. And Minnesota going to be giving the losers bracket some serious trouble next week.
Oh, this is, wow. I'm just trying to get the heart rate down still from that ending as we are wrapping things up here. Because, man, that was fun. I'm looking forward to these two teams in the quarterfinals week. So, damn, man. I just shout outs to every player in this match. Shout outs to everybody who was watching, because you just saw an instant. You have just completed an ESPN instant classic. We have one match to go in the round of 16. Tomorrow night, the other California, it's going to be NorCal taking on Michigan. That's going to be at 0:30 UTC Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. One of the more bizarre times I can remember. That'll be the last match of the round of 16, so look forward to that one. And then we head onward into our winners quarterfinals, losers rounds 2 and 3. And we're going to get some very good matches, and hopefully we have some stuff living up to this one. Because, man, oh man, every match after this is going to have some big shoes to fill.
I am speechless. I am breathless. I am soulless right now. I don't actually know what to think after that match. I'm going to say it again. As I've said many times, a massive, massive shout out to both of these two teams. Regardless of what I have said after this match, and regardless of all of the hee-hee funnies, both of these two teams have played exceptionally in this match. SoCal, they came in here, they gave it their all. Minnesota, they gave it hella their all as the 20th seed in this tournament, almost making it through tiebreaker. And a massive shout outs, unironically, to Destin, who I would call the MVP of this match by a significant margin. What a crazy performance from them. A new United States Cup player, I believe, for Minnesota as well, and has been making absolute waves as a player. So some crazy stuff. All of that has been from both sides here. A massive congratulations to California and best of luck against Virginia, and a huge congratulations to Minnesota for making it this far, and an unfortunate fall to the losers bracket where we wish them luck in their journey of 2 matches a weekend down there. But we're not done for matches this weekend, T1G. We've got one more, and it's your home state.
Yep, like I was saying, we'll be back tomorrow evening. NorCal versus Michigan, last match of the round of 16. So you will want to be there. Make sure you're following the stream and join the Discord so you know when we go live with that match. I got nothing left to say. Amazing match, amazing weekend. Hope to see everybody tomorrow night. Chillier, thank you for being here in the booth for this one. Thank you to everyone who joined in any context in this match. And we will see you guys tomorrow for the conclusion of the round here at USC 2024. It just keeps getting better.